Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and to the garden. Today is one of those unfortunate days, but something we do face here in the UK, the time for winter protection. Now, just a little bit about the Musa Basjoo banana, the cold hardy banana. So this is one of the hardiest bananas that we can grow here in the UK. Now, with that said, there are many methods of protection for these bananas, and you will find varying information on the internet. It really does come down to kind of A, how much work you want to put into protecting them, but B, also kind of what you expect for next year. So with that said, guys, with the Musa Basjoo bananas, we do have the stem or pseudo stem. Now this is simply just made up of leaves, so it is not a traditional stem that you would think of in like a tree or anything like that. So the reason we protect these, or some do choose to protect, is really to protect that stem. Now what that essentially is going to do is to give you the height, for the following year. If you can get the stems through, guys, what it will do, and we'll just come on over to one of these stems here, is it will start from around this kind of top center bit here, as opposed to letting it die back and coming up from the ground as a perennial. Now, again, you can choose to do either. Some people do not protect these at all, and in a mild winter, you may keep the height anyway without any sort of form of protection. But with that said, guys, my form of protection and what we'll be going over today seems to work for me, and it does retain the height, for the next year. So I find this is one that, at least in my garden here in Leicestershire, UK, zone 8A to 8B, does seem to be pretty foolproof. Managed to get these through, and as you can see, guys, this is a third-year clump. This started out as just one plant, and I'll show you one of the smaller ones from this year. So this one here, which we'll also be protecting, and as you can see, in just 3 short years, with a bit of protection, we're now trunk height up to around about 7 to 8 foot, with the leaf height now going up to around 12 to 15. Some of the largest leaves here, guys, you can see this one just come out here. That one is approximately 3 meters in length there, so around about the 9 to 10 foot leaf length on that one. Now you can see, guys, as well with this plant, you can see a lot of shredded leaves on this. Now it is in a fairly exposed area, so it has taken quite a battering from the wind, but with these plants, guys, they are they've kind of grown to be able to accept higher winds, shred the leaves, and protect the stems of the plant. Now what we'll do today, guys, we'll take a look at the Musa Sikkimensis, which is another banana very similar to the Musa Basjoo, and I'll just show you my overwintering process as we go through on this one here. What we will be doing essentially, guys, is to be using the bamboo and straw method. So I'll just show you as we kind of go through this process what it looks like, what it's going to look like at the end for you, just give you an idea of the kind of ease of this kind of process, but also just to show you a nice simple way that you can sort of protect and forget. With this protection, guys, as well, just to explain, it's something we're going to be leaving for the entirety of the winter and the cold. Unlike some other forms of protection for maybe some of your other plants where you may only fleece or cover for just the duration of cold, with this method, guys, we are leaving the plant protected permanently over the winter here. On that side. So what I'll do is just start getting going here, guys, and show you what we're doing. Alright, guys, so just to show you here, we've got the canes in. I've gone with the 3 cane setup here. As you can see, I'm just above the height of where the growth point is. Now what we're going to do, guys, is go through, take off all the leaves, and we'll start the wrapping process. We'll just show you what that all looks like here as well. Now, just one thing, guys, as we go to cut the leaves, always remember to cut up on the petiole, and leave a good sort of 2 inches or so of that petiole there. Again, we're just trying to really prevent any rot from getting into the main stem. You can cut down a bit further, which some people choose to do, which is literally just to take the whole top off, which I may do in this instance here, guys. The main part of what we're doing here, guys, really is to keep this ground as dry as possible. We're really trying to prevent any kind of rot from getting to the corm or the root structure of the plant here. What we'll do is get these trimmed up and show you what that looks like. Alright guys, so that's all the leaves off here. I've just used a serrated bread knife for that one. Seems to work really well. Get nice clean cuts on that. Always good to have clean tools when you are working, preventing any kind of infection or rot there. So as you can see here guys, this is kind of what we're looking like. What I will do now is to tap those stakes down a bit further to match up similarly to the height of the top of the stem there. And then what we will do is to go ahead and wrap the outside of that with fleece, which I'll show you in a second here. Right guys, so as you can see here, we've got the horticultural fleece wrapped around here. Now, I choose to use horticultural fleece as it is kind of breathable, so hopefully not going to be trapping moisture in. You know, the worry that you get, guys, with any kind of wrapping or protection is moisture. You know, moisture is going to be your enemy on this one here, guys. You do see people using things like bubble wrap and all these other types of ones, which, in fairness, some of these techniques may work well as well. Personally, I've found this to be quite foolproof with the fleece. Again, material wise, quite easy to pick up your standard roll of fleece around there, and that can be any local stores, things like that. But with that said, guys, of course, when it comes to using things like straw in the inside or even dry leaves, what I would suggest is against using things like hay. Sticking with straw, reason being hay can cause things like grass seed and does rot down a little bit quicker as well. Key that we're trying to do here, guys, is keep this dry over the whole period of the winter. Again, so if it does get any cold on it, we're not getting any moisture building up around the stems on that one. Alright guys, so here's what we're looking like at the moment. I've just gone through some standard garden twine, wrapped around it a few times, made some loose ties. Bear in mind, guys, we will be packing this with straw, so when we pack with straw, it will fill out. Again, you want a good, probably 2 to 3 inches at least of straw around the stem. This just gives it that little bit of insulation through the coldest times. Now, on the bottom, I will pack it a bit wider, cover a bit more ground with the straw. Again, trying to keep that ground temperature a little bit raised throughout the winter months here. One thing just to point out, guys, as well, if you do grow things like the onset morelli or red Abyssinian banana, I have done an overwintering video on those. It is slightly different than what you would find with these types of bananas, as you will need to dry store those. So if you certainly haven't checked that out, go onto the channel and check that out. See if I can put a link in the description below as well for you. What I'll do now, guys, just get this packed with straw and show you kind of what it looks like towards the end and when it's finally protected here. Alright guys, so it might seem a bit of a brutal process, and it certainly is a bit of a messy process. One thing to suggest as well, you could use fleece in the inside. I do find that it doesn't do as well for insulation, me personally, but that is another option you could use if you're worried about kind of mess and things, guys. Just with that said, if you have a look now, we've stuffed this all the way to the top. I've just covered the top of the stem, which you could just find there. Now what I will do on top of this now, guys, is put a ball of fleece on top of this, and I will look to cover it with something waterproof over the top. I mean, you could even use things like a black bag, these types of things. But what I won't be doing, guys, is to wrap the entire column in anything waterproof. Reason being, and the reason why I use the fleece again, is because I want that to be able to breathe, you know, and be able to kind of release the moisture as much as well. The straw is doing the job of insulation, and what we're doing in that, guys, is kind of a loosely packed straw into there. You don't want to be pushing it down too hard and damaging the plant on that side as well. So what I'll be doing, guys, and I'll just show you briefly, again, this isn't going to be exactly what it looks like at the end, but what I will be doing is taking something similar to this, you know, your basic pot here. Let's just get rid of this dirt for the minute. And what I'll essentially be doing, guys, just to show you, is over the top, we'll simply look to put, now that's just roughly placed, guys, but we're putting something like that over the top. Again, just helps with the moisture. Now, I wouldn't use a pot that had holes in it. Again, I don't want water to be dripping down into the plant, but I'll use something waterproof just to cover over the top of that. Generally, I like it to come about halfway down as well, so sometimes I do use kind of the old straw bags as a way of kind of pulling that over. Because one thing to add is if you are growing these in pots, it is slightly different. You do want to protect the pot, as if the pot freezes or something like that, then potentially you could be losing that root system, even though it is reportedly ground hardy. So just bear that in mind, guys. If you do have them in pots, worth bringing them close to a house, or even into an unheated greenhouse if you have one. You know, they do prefer the ground much more, have a lot more protection in the ground. But if you are growing in pots, you know, similar method, but I would say simply to make sure you are getting it close to a house, or in an unheated greenhouse. And at that point, guys, it is more about protecting the base of the pot. But just with that said, guys, so that is the way I overwinter my bananas. Again, I've found this to be quite a easy method. Now, I know it is, you know, possibly a bit of an eyesore in the garden, which in some cases, this is why you may choose to just let them die back, come back from the ground each year. Now, they should be reportedly hardy down to around about the kind of -18, -10 ground level, at soil level. So again, you know, even if you do lose the stem over winter, you should have pups coming up from the ground following that anyway. You know, I've seen these grown even down to zones of zone 4, 4A and 4B up in north of Canada. You know, so it just goes to show these are very tough plants. Certainly worth giving it a go, guys. Again, I will be doing the same method on the Musa Basjoo clump here at the back. Now, one thing just to mention, you know, I do have kind of two almost distinct little clumps here. You got your kind of one on this side and one on this side. What I may actually look to do is run a test this year, so fully protect one and not protect the other. Just to kind of get an idea, you know, what would happen in each instance. Again, I know my protection method will work, you know, when it comes to the straw method. So it's just to see, you know, what happens if I do leave it out. So that's something I may consider. I probably will go around and still protect the smaller ones here, guys, just to give them a good head start for the year. But with that said, guys, you know, if this information was valuable, your first time growing Musa Basjoo cold hardy bananas, hopefully this will help to give you some confidence that you'll be able to get yours through the winter. And you know, have a great head start to next year. Of course, if you haven't already, certainly subscribe to the channel. Lots more content coming out soon, and a like always helps the channel to grow. Of course, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.